Who are you in the story of Portabar?
I invented it.
I love it. I did this side of yeah. Hi Simon, good to see you and thanks for joining us today. So for anyone who doesn't know you, who are you in the story of Portabar?
I invented it. So that's who I am in the story of Portabar. It was my idea.
And how did that come about, that invention?
It came about because we were repeatedly asked by our existing clients, who we made fixed bars for, to come up with something they could use for events. And eventually we sort of took this set of requests seriously and started giving it some thought. And after an amount of time, we came up with the idea of Portabar. It was one of those things that just sort of suddenly came like a eureka moment.
Modular system is so unique and so special for Portabar. And how did you come up with a system that you could use in so many different scenarios and configurations?
Because I suppose the people that had approached us were from a variety of, had a variety of different needs. So whatever it was we came up with had to be able to address those needs and to do it kind of variably. So it's not always a given that the event we're going to do is going to be a champagne event or a beer event or a cocktail event. So whatever it was going to be, it was going to have to be able to be changed from being one thing to another thing.
So being a bartender myself and having worked behind a bar, it feels like it's designed exactly for a bartender's needs. Like everything is exactly where you want it. How did you know that? How do you know where to put everything?
I'm often told off for saying this because it's meant to be a negative word, but I'll say it anyway. So I'm looking to management across the way. Design's often a kind of parasitic process. It's one of kind of listening, formulating, pulling all, kind of consolidating all the things that you hear. So we talked to a lot of bartenders over a long time. We kind of osmosed a certain amount of knowledge, but also gleaned some really direct stuff from the people that we work with for the sorts of things that they need. And we've been able to kind of distill that into a product solution that would address it.
You mentioned a eureka moment. Can you elaborate on that at all?
Yes, I mean, I suppose so. We spent a lot of time trying to explore how a event bar might be and ran into various hurdles. One of them was we built an event, we kind of built a couple, and they were incredibly heavy, really difficult to move. So we started off with things on wheels that would kind of trundle into a van, trundle out of a van. But the minute you get outside, these things sink axle deep into mud and there's no shifting. Or the minute you come to stairs or steps, you can't get them up or down because they weigh too much, they can't be lifted. Yeah, so the eureka moment was been looking at these various things. How are you going to combat weight and bulkiness? How are you going to deal with variable need from an operational point of view of what this bar is serving and who it's serving to? And the other, to some extent, was also to do with scale. Little tiny bar isn't going to do 500 people. So the eureka moment was realising that we've been looking at this as building a thing, a bar-shaped thing. That. And that was the wrong approach. What we needed was to think like Lego, a set of things that could be put together quickly and easily, wherever, and then make that. So that you wouldn't have to deal with the weight problem, because the weight problem would only exist when all those things got put together and were in a place. You wouldn't have to worry about the scale problem, because you could scale it, make it as big or as small as you liked. And you wouldn't have to worry about the operational requirement, because you can add and subtract components to address that operational need. And that just kind of all went flash one morning.
Fantastic. Yeah. Take us back to the very first Portabar.
The first one was bought by IP bartenders. Ty Altman deserves a name check here because he applied quite a lot of pressure for us to produce this damn thing. So he bought the first one. That sort of was that really. They then kind of developed and we started working with, somebody saw it and said, oh, that is what we've been looking for all of this time. Or I think some other people had seen it at Bar Show too and said, actually, we'd like one of those too. And so it begins with Thai, but it very quickly kind of sort of took root elsewhere.
Fantastic. So tell us about one setup that made you stop and think Portabar has really arrived.
Yes, that's difficult. There were lots of them. In the end, I think I landed simply because of the scale of it and because they got it. They got how it worked. It was just to quickly recap on that. The very beginning, a lot of people got it into their head that Portabar was just a 3-bay thing. So they would buy a 3-bay thing, and then they would think they need to buy another 3-bay thing to kind of butt up against it. And it took a bit of time for us to kind of communicate that it actually, you could link it together in all sorts of different, more creative ways. And Rankin Pommery, Champagne, bought into that idea that they could make bars big and small. So they were using little 2-bays for pop-ups and brand activations, but equally they rapidly acquired enough to make a sort of 8x8x8x8 island bar, massive. And then of course they could scale at anything in between in terms of size and shape and operation. Mm. So I'd say that was the moment I just thought, well, now we've got that out there, here's a big name, really, really working with this the way that I kind of intended that it should.
When you look back now, what are you most proud of?
I'm very proud that we came up with this product that's found its way around the world. That's quite exciting. Fun thing to have done it, and I like the fact that people in the industry recognise Portabar and like it as much as they do. But the thing I think I'm proudest of is that it's generated this sort of Portabar fan club. People that work with Portabar love it, enjoy it, have fun with it, but critically have built their businesses on it in many ways, large and small. That's been, I'm very proud of that. That's been quite an exciting thing to be a part of. And it's been extraordinary to be involved with those people, many and various, from big corporates to startups along the way. So I think in the end, the thing I'm proudest of is the people that use Portabar and the fun they've had with it.
You're so right. It just has almost a cult following. No, it does. And that cult following is the people who work behind it and use it, who are normally the bartenders. So what have bartenders taught you over the years?
Well, I suppose bartenders have taught us everything that we've been able to distill and use in Portabar, actually, is the answer. That moves comes back to what I said earlier. I've just sort of we as a team, but me particularly, have spent rather a long time, as it turns out, listening to bartenders' wants, needs, ideas, and sometimes the things that they find frustrating. So that owes more to them than to me, in the sense that all I did was listen.
So tell me, what does it feel like watching the next chapter begin?
As I've said before to you, it's surprisingly natural. I think this is a very, very good fit. I think culturally, this is a good place for Portabar to be, and I'm really excited about where it goes next.
If you had to describe Portabar in one sentence, not as a founder, but as someone who's watched it grow, what would you say?
I'm much too close to it to be able to provide any kind of objectivity, or that amount of objectivity anyway. But I'm very proud of what it's done so far. It's fantastic to see all of the different markets and places that it's ended up in. Like I said, being involved with all the people that use it in the ways that they do. And I'm very excited about where it could go next with, in different hands, with different vision. Great.
Thank you very much.